Today we're going to be taking a look at a super small, super compact, and super bright LED light that might be the future of filmmaking. This right here is the Molus B300 COB light. This thing is 300 watts of bicolor firepower with built-in power supply and a full-size Bowens mount, and it only weighs 2.5 kilograms. In this video, we're going to talk about the pros, the cons. Yes, the cons. I'm not just going to talk about everything that I like. I'll also tell you the bad stuff. There are things you need to know. I'll also run some tests to see how this light really performs in terms of quality. Basically, should you even be considering this light for personal or professional filmmaking? Just so you know, I'm not getting paid any money for this review, but this light was sent to me for free by Zhiyun. Let's go over some quick stats that you need to know right away. This thing is bicolor. It has a CCT range from 2700 Kelvin up to 6500 Kelvin. This light doesn't have green and magenta correction, so it tracks purely as a bicolored light, which means that it doesn't track to the daylight or Planckian curve. If you'd like me to explain that in more details, please let me know in the comments below. Zhiyun has also provided phone app operation with the ZY Vega app. This light has the usual special effects that you would expect in a modern day fixture and comes with a Bowen and umbrella mount. Now, let's go through the price and what you get. The B300 is a 300 watt light that costs about $539 US. And here's the price I found online today from Zhiyun's website. This light is sold in a padded cardboard box. You get the light, a reflector, a COB cover, your regional power cable, and some instructions. There's no case, but that's the cardboard foam box that it comes in that you can use if you'd like to. With that being said, what exactly is this light? And is it really straightforward to use? It's mine? Oh, I'm sorry. The bulk of the body is made of a lightweight plastic or industrial polymer. The front face of the lights and the Bowen mount area is all made of solid metal. This directly connects through the inside of the body to the mounting area, while the mount and lock-offs are also made of metal. On the bottom is your DC power inlet, which is an IEC lead, and also you have your on and off switch. On the back of the light, you have your information screen, which is so small that it can double as an eye testing chart. On the side of the light, you have two knobs for adjustment. One adjusts your brightness, which adjusts in 1% increments. The other knob adjusts your color temperature. Now, if you push the left knob, it comes up with the operating menu. Here you can change the language and reset the Bluetooth connection for the phone app. To exit the menu, long press the button down. If you long press the right button, you get the special effects menu. And in terms of special effects, you have CCT pulse, flash, fireworks, and all the other good stuff. Finally, on the side of the light, there's a USB port, and as a dedicated optional extra, you can get a wide remote control with a 2-meter wire that plugs directly into the USB port. And I hear that you can also use it as a way to update the firmware. You can also update the firmware straight from the app, which is a whole lot easier. I'd say it's pretty obvious that you wouldn't want to use this light outside in the rain. As always, I wouldn't recommend putting anything less than 3 feet in front of this light. You can feel a considerable amount of heat coming off if you put your hands in front of this. As far as how hot does this get, most of the heat comes off the top and the bottom of the light. The sides and the back, they're quite cool because of the fans. Before we start testing the light quality with my fake NASA approved experiment, I would appreciate it if you subscribed and gave this video a thumbs up. Remember, you might be saving the world. Now, let's get testing. First, we'll take a look at how the B300 performs with no modifier attached and with its supplied reflector. Note that I've only taken statistics at 3200 and 5600 Kelvin. Starting off with no modifier, as you would expect, it has a broad, even beam, which could easily light up a large fixture such as a lantern or a dome. Now, Unlike some other lights that I've used, this light has a uniform color, edge to edge. The results are the same regardless of the CCT that you dial in, and as I would expect from a COB this size, the shadows are very sharp. That's good, you actually want that. Now, let's have a look at the 300 and the supplied reflector. Ultimately, this makes for one of the better combinations. It has a fairly even and consistent light beam. And again, the results seem to be the same regardless of the color dialed in. But at a distance of about 3 meters, you do get obvious multiple shadowing. Very small, but it's still there. Now, this is a 300-watt light, so let's see how it performs through the window at a distance of about 5 meters with no modifier attached. We've got a beautiful crisp shadows, and the results are the same regardless of the CCT that you dial in. Now, let's see how this also performs with the supplied reflector. It has a very even beam for a faceted reflector, and once again, the results are the same regardless of the CCT that you dial in. This light works. If you want a very technical spec sheet video with all the information about the quality of light, like the TM30 scores, the CRI, and everything else, there are other videos on this platform, but in my opinion, you're not really here for that. So the most obvious pro besides the quality of light is that if you need to travel small and light, the size and weight of this unit will be your best friend. Actually, think about this. It has a built-in power supply. It weighs 2.5 kilograms. That's everything. And it's really staggering when you consider that this is a genuine 300-watt bicolor light. The next pro is that this light is not pulse width modulation, which means that basically they are 100% flicker-free. Regardless of the shutter speed or the shutter angle that you have in your camera, when you use them, you don't see those strobe effects in your video. Now, usually this comes with a big trade-off in most LED lights, and it shows up in the dimming characteristics. They're usually always almost terrible. Lights that have constant current dimming usually have color hue issues as you dim them. But surprisingly, that's not the case with these lights. Good job, Zhiyun. Lastly, let's talk about these fans. These fans. Despite having 3 fans, they're not 3 times louder than your lights with 1 fan, because all of the fans are sucking air. None of them are blowing the sound waves out, which is really great. Actually, we're using one right now, and I bet you cannot hear the sound. So I don't think you need to worry about fan noise at all. They're very quiet. Now, when I say quiet, I don't mean there's zero noise. It just means that it's not distracting on set, and your mic will probably not pick up the sound. Honestly, I don't think I've heard a 300-watt light from any other brands that is as quiet as this. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. All right, so there are a lot of things that I've come to like about this light, but I also have some things that I'd want them to improve on in the next version. So I'll start with that. I should warn you though, this list of cons is mainly from the perspective of a professional lighting person. Shout out to Nick. First, the light skews towards magenta. But listen now, did you know that this is a common practice? A lot of similar pro lights, especially in this price point at the market, deliberately skew towards magenta in the belief that it gives you better skin tones. Thank you, but I'm sure most lighting guys would want it to be neutral for a number of reasons. For example, when you go in for a close-up shot, the last thing you want to see is magenta eyeballs and magenta teeth, and we're not always going to be lighting skin in the first place. The next negative is that this light has no DMX or CRMX control. So what this means is that if you are working using a professional lighting desk, this light would not be able to communicate with the desk. That takes away the use of this for stage event coverage that requires multiple light controls. Another negative is that there's no DC input. This only have AC powered input, so if you want to run them off of a V-mount battery, you cannot do that directly. One way around that is to get a generator or one of those portable power stations. The next negative is that there's no weather protection. No, but wait, Tyre, I don't plan to be filming and using this in a storm or tornado. So why is this important? These lights are powerful enough to be used outdoors and should have some sort of protection. It's not just as simple as placing something over the top if you're going to use it in the rain. There's a chance that you might foul the air venting if you do that. The final negative for me is the COB arrangement, which probably is the most important thing. It is set up in a striped formation, so this will not work with projection mounts. Why? The COB LED arrangement typically involves multiple chips that have been placed closely together on a single substrate, forming a large bright source. When arranged in a striped formation like this, the light output becomes more directional and less uniform. Also, projectors have optical components like lenses and mirrors and everything else that are designed to work with specific light patterns. This striped arrangement may not align properly with those components. If you work with a lot of projections, SMD LEDs or COB LEDs arranged in a grid or matrix pattern are more optimal for projection systems, providing the uniformity and light distribution that you need for clear and effective projections. So, at the end of the day, if you're after lights that are very small and have a massive amount of firepower, I think this is your hero brand. You'll be very, very hard pressed to find anybody that can make a light as small and compact as this with this sort of firepower. This thing is bi-color, people. And also, it's good to see some pretty bright lights like this at an affordable price. Personally, it blows my mind that this whole light is about the same size as the original Forza 500's head alone. Obviously, this is a high watt output light, and I guess they probably just decided not to go with the battery option because it makes it cheaper. And also, they're so powerful, you'd need some really big batteries to run the lights, which then just starts to add up in terms of cost. Now, who do I see using this light? They were going for the cost-effective filmmaker more than they were going for the pro filmmaker based on the no V-mount options and no DMX. But overall, I see this for somebody who's definitely on a budget, a filmmaker who needs a bright output, but not breaking the bank. I mean, a couple years ago, an Aperture 120D Mark II was around $1,200, which is pretty crazy, but it's even crazier that you can now get this for less than $600. Yeah, I do see it as a pretty valuable find for a filmmaker. If you're maybe doing high frame rate shooting or documentaries and you need something you can beam through the window to create your own sunlight, or maybe just weddings, you can use this for your shots in the hall or wherever. At the end of the day, this is a light. This is a light that can get the job done. If you enjoy the video or have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna see you in the next video. We're still rolling, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is BTS. Pasha, I might take Jesus. Light, come back on. Make it work. There you go. There you go. Light Jesus.